Hey everyone, welcome back. Icon here. Thanks so much for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. Today, we are hopping on board with the one and only Formal as the Chicago Huntsmen go to battle against this brand new roster for the London Royal Ravens. You actually just saw Formal die to him right there. So, as of right now, they have subbed in Nasty at the SMG position. So, I figured this would be a good opportunity to just kind of see how he plays and what happens. And, first thing I notice is right off the break here, if you're a London fan or if you're playing for London in this scrim, this is exactly the opposite of what you're hoping to see. Although that was a pretty nice kill there from Nasty on Formal from that heady. But as we're playing Hardpoint, you can see that spawns have already flipped. So in the top right-hand corner above Formal's face, you'll see that, whoops, it's cut off a little bit. Let me go ahead and move it over. You'll see that there is a mini-map there, and as Formal's coming up off of spawn, you can see that they have this side over by P2. So as we go ahead and draw on this, you can see that they are over here. So they started on the opposite side of the map, and right now, this is exactly what you would expect these major ARs to do on most teams, is they're just holding down this right-hand side. So you can see even in the minimap right now that they're really paying focus to not only this push over through P1, but over by P2, which is where you expect them to be coming from. So right now, as we're taking a peek at the score, you can see that Chicago's down by like 30, but that's not all that big of a deal just because since they have these sticky spawns back here by P2, they're probably going to max out this time, get all 60 of these points, and that's exactly what you would expect from a team like this. Once you have this broken down, it is extremely hard to break. So the one thing that I will point out is that as we're about halfway through this hill, you can see that Chicago's trying to push out towards mid-map. And sometimes that can be fairly difficult, but the further you're pushed out towards mid-map, the more time you're going to be able to lock down on this back hill. So again, mini-map right-hand side, if you're taking battles in this lane right here by P2, then if you get squad wiped, now that's going to become like a left side of hill versus right side of hill things. But if you're able to push out a little bit and take a lot of those gun battles, which they were doing in this range right here, then essentially what happens is that team has to get a team wipe before it can push up. If it gets kills here, then they have to push up again and they have to get another team wipe in order to get into P2. And that's exactly why that hill is so dangerous and why it's so important to be able to flip that on P1. So now Chicago is just doing, they seem so polished in one like this where their strategy at this point in time, as it's rotating from P3 to P4 to P5, you really do have to flip spawns and get that spawn over by P5. So essentially, as these teams are leaving P2, again, I'm drawing in the top right-hand corner, they're going to push out through bottom warehouse and flip and get on this side of the map because as it gets through P3, this one is kind of like a 50-50 hill, even though they're getting, looks like they've built up their lead even 30 more seconds from this hill right here. So most of the time, this is one that's really hard to gain traction on. So with that one, they're doing a fantastic job, and it looks like London is really playing for, if they're spawning on this side of the map, they're really playing to get inside of P4 and get a lot of time here. But Chicago has done a really nice job of flipping that spawn so that as it rotates from P4 to P5, they're going to be spawning back on either of these sides. It depends on where London's going to be pushing from. Then they just have to watch this left flank and the right flank, and that's exactly what you're watching Formal do right now. The main ARs on this map will end up being top heaven, so this is something that we've seen a little bit more recently. Even back in CDL LA, we saw quite a few main ARs being up in top heaven. But most importantly, you want to make sure that you're locking down mid-map and that right-hand side. So since that right-hand side is accounted for, that's why you saw Formal push up into P4 just because his teammates were back there. So since you just saw Formal, just to kind of refresh where we're at and reset where we're at in terms of strategy, you saw Formal die or come up off of spawn back here by back yellow. So that means that as London is leaving P4, they're going to be pushing out that left-hand side. And you can see multiple kills right here being picked up by Formal just because he knows that since they had control, since London had control of P4, that's the side that they're mainly going to be pushing from. That was a nice trade over there by ENVOY on Jerd, and it's just the same thing all over again. Now, this is an interesting spawn trap. Even though they keep dying over and over again, that's an interesting spawn trap. So what a lot of teams will do, let me pause this for just a second just so I can explain this to you guys. So minimap top right-hand corner, what exactly you were looking at is when Formal came up off of spawn, he was spawning right here. And what a lot of teams will do, such as London, if they had P4, they're going to be pushing out the left-hand side of P5. Well, what they'll do is they'll send their main AR up to top L. And essentially what that allows them to do is that allows them to get spawn kills as these reinforcements for Chicago try to come in and essentially just thwart that push on the left-hand side of the hill. So that's why you saw Formal die right there. Now, what a lot of teams will do is you can't see gray all that well, but they'll throw smokes right here. I have it in yellow. And essentially, once you have a smoke there, now you can get your reinforcements in towards P5. And that's the main strategy that ends up happening there if a spawn trap does occur. But they were able to do that once or twice, and then they were able to pick it up. Oh, look at that lag right there. That's the issue that you're going to find with playing a lot of these tournaments online. Formal had already stopped shooting, and then he ran, and then he went to bring up his gun again, and then when he brought up his gun, he finally got the kill from the first series of bullets that he was shooting there. So, I don't love it, but that's the scenario that we've been forced with. Hopefully they find some sort of regulations that make this a little bit easier in terms of the schedule going forward and having to play all of these major events online. We'll see what happens. It's not the best case scenario, but at least we'll be able to still watch, right? If you're talking about the NBA or NCAA tournament or something like that, it's just over. So at least games like this we're still able to watch, even though they're not quite LAN events. So we went on a little bit of a tirade there, but the best thing about Scrims is that now we can go ahead and we can listen to what they're talking about. So with that, I'm going to turn up the volume on their voice. Let's get a little bit of an idea of what's going on here and what they're thinking about doing strategy-wise.
I'm nading that guy fire.
I'm coming.
I smoked out. Okay, smoke.
Just to kind of reiterate, this is the tough spot, right? Now that you're the team that had control of P1, trying to push out P2, it's almost impossible to close out, especially on this hill if you're not the team that has spawns.
I
don't see him cat.
maybe.
1 second, I'm green, I can help.
One shot in the smoke.
I'm trying to get out.
Deep left, Dylan. Dead.
I'm trying to get mid stack now.
I don't see the guy fire,
They're not spawning tires on the thing.
Yo, back up, spawn.
So essentially what Formal is trying to do there is he's trying to kill people that are running out of that back left-hand building, because if they get out of there, then they have the potential to flip for P3. So he's really just trying to watch any pushes out from that side.
Yeah, bottom on you.
Tires,
He got me on time.
Yeah, two.
Just running back tires.
Let's get weak on time, 2 of them.
You want time right now? Scraps and west.
Milk truck. Got him, one more.
I gotta get
Door, Dylan. I'm dead, one more there.
Man, some of these gunfights, you can just tell that they're playing online, because a lot of those, like that kill right there, wouldn't have taken Formal so long.
First hard weak.
There's one behind you, Formal.
I'll get time.
I have time. You're good.
And this is what you would consider to be a success, right? So they were able to get inside of P2. They were able to control that for just a couple seconds, and then now they were just trying to stop them from getting out. So Formal was watching the left-hand side. The rest of his teammates were watching the right-hand side, and they were just trying to stop them from escaping that P2 spawn.
Another one on
Mid
mid.
crates.
weak up middle right now.
One mid crates. Last dead. One mid crates.
They're flooding middle like heavy. Like
Crates, one shot dead.
I spawned green.
One mid crates, Dylan.
I can kill middle.
If we're looking at the score here, they only need about 5 more seconds. We'll see if they're able to get through with the smoke. And you can see right here, so there was nobody watching that right-hand side, and that's exactly why Formal picked up that right-hand side when they came up off of spawns. Really nice job there from him, just kind of recognizing little things like that. And that's why these main ARs are so important, because essentially if he would have ran to the left-hand side, all 3 of those could have overwhelmed. They could have gotten inside of P3. They could have gotten the rest of those points. And then as London came up off of spawns, they would have position for P4 also. So just simple map knowledge allowed them to be able to stop any push from bottom and top L. Formal with 24 and 17, big game there. ENVOY was +9, 29 and 20. Seth also had 29, ended up being 29 and 24. So the main storyline here to look at is down below. You can see Nasty just subbing in. I think this is the first scrim that I've actually seen him in. He went 12 and 23. So if you're a London fan, if you're from across the pond, that's probably not what you're looking for. But again, this is just online. So even like Dylan's been frying, and he went 15 and 29. So a lot of this could have been connection based, but with that, guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. I super appreciate it. All the new subs, all the views you guys have been supporting my channel with as of late. I thank you guys so much. If you have any comments whatsoever, put them down below. I love the interactions. I try to get back to as many people as I can. I usually end up getting back to almost all of those comments, so if you have anything, put it down below. Don't forget to leave a like before you head on your way. And with that, thank you guys so much. We'll see you in the next episode.